Hello, photography students. This video is going to go over the beginner digital workflow. So, digital workflow is something that means how am I processing and importing and editing my images once I've taken them and they're on this little SD card. So, we're going to start from the point that the pictures are taken. That's everything you're learning in fundamentals. And now my pictures are on this SD card. What do I do with them? So I'm going to be working on a Macintosh. A lot of these things are going to look similar. Some of them are going to look a little bit different. And I'll be able to walk you through this in class, but I want you to have some reference to come back to if you need to see this. This seems, this can be challenging. It can be simple for some students and it can be challenging for others. So the way that I teach the basic digital workflow is that the first step after you take your photos is to remove the SD card from the camera and place it in a card reader. So I'm going to break a couple of rules here. So if your computer does not have an SD slot, you're going to need a card reader that looks something like this. So you see it has different ports. This is a micro SD, this is an SD, this is Lightning, and these are USB. So Lightning is specific to Macintosh. You're going to plug this into your computer so you can see here, like that's one of the Lightning or micro, actually it's micro USB. So this part is Lightning and that is specific to Macintosh. So I'm going to plug that into the back of my computer. Your end piece might look a little bit different, but the idea is the same. And then once I have this plugged in, I'm going to insert my SD card, whichever way it goes in smoothly into the card reader, something like this. I'm going to do that step now. At this point, you do not have Lightroom open. You have nothing open except for your computer. Your computer is turned on. So I'm going to show you what's my screen starts to look like at this point and what I am looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So on a Macintosh, your external hard drive and your SD cards and anything that you connect is going to pop up on your desktop, which is super convenient. This will happen on a PC as well. It's on a Mac, it's going to look like this. It's going to be silver and small if it's an SD card or a USB or something like that. Now, I'm also going to need for these steps my external hard drive. You may begin photography by copying your photos directly onto your computer hard drive, but that's not going to last long because most of our computers don't have enough storage space for how large the photo files are. You're going to need an external hard drive. We're selling these in the bookstore. I'm confirming. We usually get 1 TB. That's around $60 to $75. You can find these online if you've got financial aid and you want to go to the bookstore. They'll be there. That's where I bought these. And if you want to buy it online, I have in the equipment list, I have suggestions and I can always help you make this purchase. So I use these portable external solid state drives. You don't have to have solid state. You can also just get a portable external drive. It's less expensive. Solid state just means I can carry this around and drop it and it's not as fragile because there's not an actual spinning hard drive in here. So you recognize the USB on this. So this is something that's small enough that you could carry just this to class and hook it up to the computer you're using in the Mac lab, or you can bring your laptop and keep your images here. This really should be where all of your images are stored. Eventually, you should have two. So one should have all of your originals and one should have all of your backups. In case something happens to this, I always have a backup. That is a professional photographer's minimum backup method. Some will have a third and a fourth. A third goes to the client, a fourth goes to a fireproof safe or a storage unit. So that would be a typical professional photography backup, or you may use a cloud or something like that. So for now, I'm also going to plug in my external hard drive because this is the place I'm backing up my images to. You have to start to visualize where are my images going, and I have some graphs I'm going to show you as well. But for now, I'm actually just walking you through the process. So you see, I have the silver no name. It does really help if you name them. You could rename your SD cards your own name, and you could write SD card. That way, when it pops up on your computer, your Finder on a PC, or I'm sorry, your Finder on a Mac, and I think it's called like the Windows Explorer or something on a PC. It'll actually just say like your name SD card. So you know what device is popping up. Now, hard drives on a Mac pop up as orange. So my external hard drive that I have named MTCC Photo has popped up. So I am transferring my images from the no name SD card to the MTCC Photo. So the first thing I like to do is just double click to open this so I can see what's inside. So here, let's block all these windows so you can see it really big. The way you organize your hard drive is going to be something you figure out, right? I'm not coming to your house and organizing your pantry, but I am going to give you some tips. Every single time you open up an SD card, it's going to say DCIM. That is the default for the digital images. Once you double click that, you're going to see that probably the name of your camera. And I shot these on a Canon. And then here you see I shot these as JPEGs. Now I am going to teach you how to shoot RAW. I want you to shoot RAW. So if you were shooting on a Canon, this would say instead of .jpg, this would say img underscore a number, so image number, and then dot CR2 for a Canon RAW file. Now, over here, I have my different folders and how I have them organized. Now, this one is not as clean as I would like yours to look, but this is the current hard drive I have. So I would usually have a folder in here that says like 2025. You could even write photos and maybe your initials. That just helps you search it when you lose things. So now 2025 is coming to the top. The easiest way to do this is just to literally grab the entire folder that's currently called 100 Canon and drag it to the 2025 Photos RWJ folder, and that's it. That's your first step. I want you to back up your photos manually. Remove them from the SD card. Well, you're not really removing them right now, you're copying. So you're copying them from the SD card to your permanent backup system. Okay. This is where they need to live, is on a hard drive. I don't want you to be confused about where these digital files are backed up. At this point, I'm going to properly eject the SD card. So on a Mac, you can right click and eject or just drag it to the trash can. Now, the hardest thing for photography students to do is the next time you put this little SD card in your camera, you need to format it. Formatting it will erase every single picture on it. This is not a hard drive. This is not a permanent storage device. This is where your images that you've captured temporarily live until you back them up on a hard drive, whether it's external or on your computer's internal hard drive. That's the process. From here, you take this back into your camera and you format it. These cards can corrupt. I've seen it happen. I haven't seen a lot of other terrible disappearances, but these corrupt. You lose your photos. It's a tragedy. It's also really hard to keep organized when you wind up with 7,000 pictures on this thing, and every single time you're importing, you are copying old files and you don't know what's what, you don't know what's new, and all these sorts of things. You don't want to do that. So format every time. You can pause here because the next step I'm going to be showing you is what we do in Lightroom. So we're going to leave our external hard drive plugged in, but we're going to remove the SD card from the card reader at this point. If you don't do that, Lightroom is going to launch an auto dialog box that I don't want you to use in these beginner methods. The other thing I want to point out is that when you plug your card into the SD card reader, there's a chance that Lightroom is going to automatically launch. That is a default that you can deselect. For the beginner method, I want you to go into your preferences and stop that from happening, and I'll show you how to do it. Either that or just immediately quit Lightroom, okay? So from here, I'm going to launch Lightroom. So let me move some of these things off my desktop so you're not distracted. Lightroom is down here on my dock. It might be in a different place on your computer. It needs to say LRC, not just LR. If you've only downloaded LR, you're in the mobile app, and that's not what we're using for this class. You want to have Lightroom Classic. So go ahead and launch that. My credentials are already logged in. If your credentials were not logged in, you would have to do that at that time. So this is what the first window you see is going to look like. It will default that you open up in the library module. So you want to be in the library module that I'm circling over now and that's highlighted in bright white. This is where you import from. There's more than one way to import. I'm not going to show you all of those. I will in class, but in this video, we're going to default to the bottom left corner. So in the bottom left corner, I'm going to click import. Now you see some images here. These are images that have already been imported. So I want you to sort of ignore that for now. When you first open Lightroom, this screen is going to be empty until you import your first batch of images. I'm going to click import, and then this window is going to pop up. This would be the window you would automatically see if you inserted an SD card and Lightroom automatically opened, or if you had Lightroom open and you insert an SD card, this is the window that's going to pop up. But I want you to make sure you have the images backed up first and your SD card is removed so that you really are, this is the most manual I can think to do it, to know where are my pictures. My pictures were here and now they're here, right? I know where they're contained. So that's my source. My source is where the pictures come from. So on the left, you see it says select source. I need to choose where these images are coming from. So I'm going to choose my external hard drive that I just backed them up to, and I'm going to choose the folder I called 2025 Photos RWJ. Now, I have already imported these. So as you see, Lightroom grayed them out. Lightroom is smart. Lightroom knows these have already been imported and it doesn't want me to accidentally import them twice. This is a good thing. Let me see if I can override that for the sake of this. It doesn't want to let me. Here we go. Okay, so this is what it will look like. It will automatically choose all of the folders. And it's going to copy every new image that it recognizes. So you might have noticed that I deselected a button over here called Don't Import Suspected Duplicates. We usually want that checked. But since I know these have been imported already, but I want to show you how to import, I'm going to do it again. You notice up here it says copy. Because we already have these backed up, we do not want to copy these. We want to add them. The difference between copying and adding is as follows. If I choose copy, which you may do in the more advanced settings, it wants to make an actual copy, it's what it sounds like, into a destination folder. But we've already done that. We've already copied this from the SD card onto a hard drive. So you don't need to make another copy. Now you're simply telling Lightroom, I want to add you from this location. I'm adding this from this location, and now your Lightroom images are going to be in the same location. It's not going to make another copy into another folder somewhere else on your computer. You can choose what that folder is. But again, that's the advanced workflow, beginner workflow. You choose add, and then you choose import. And now Lightroom is going to import them. At this stage, oh, I need to go back and say one thing. In the import menu, over on the right, there was don't import suspected duplicates. You usually want that checked, and build smart previews. It is recommended to choose that. So what that means, and now I'm just going to cancel that because now you're seeing it's importing. Smart previews means that Lightroom has made a smart copy of this as a digital negative, a .dng file, and it allows you to work on this image even if you don't have your hard drive connected. Then when you connect your hard drive, Lightroom is automatically going to synchronize the changes you made in the thumbnail preview that's in Lightroom to your actual file. So that's kind of an interesting thing that Lightroom can do. At this point, that concludes how to import. Those are the steps for our workflow. I'm going to talk about the location of your catalog in class and in the text, but for now, your images are ready to be manipulated, organized, categorized, and exported from Lightroom. So that was the basic beginner digital workflow for importing images into Lightroom Classic, the 2025 latest edition.